All right, we should be live. I'm waiting to see from YouTube if we are or not. So, Larry Nichols official channel, not showing live yet, so give it a minute. Is anybody here yet? I would imagine we've got some people waiting, but I'm waiting for it to come up and load up. According to Google Hangouts, we're live, but nobody's gotten the, can't pull it up live on YouTube yet. It always takes it a minute to get it up. We had a problem yesterday. Well, I have something here about George Washington that I found was good. George Washington envisioned an America where the people would, no, that's not it. Oh, we are loud and clear, so go ahead, Larry.
It is Friday, February the 22nd, 2018. As I promised you yesterday, we're going to talk about what's coming. First on the agenda, I must tell you that yesterday, several of the Democratic candidates for president started talking up, guess what? Reparation. I promised you it was coming. Well, now it's here. Reparation. Totally designed to do one thing, and that is to activate and get the black vote to come out. You see, the problem they have with the black vote is not necessarily that the blacks would ever come out and vote for a Republican, although Trump has been better for them than any other president. What the Democrats fear is if the black community does not have anybody they truly want, as was the case with Obama, they just will not vote. They'll stay home. They can't have that happen. So they come up with reparation. Reparation for slavery. That every American black is somehow connected to slavery long ago. Therefore should be awarded some amount of money. They are yet to pick out the amount of money they're planning to offer, but it'll come. It will come. I only caution you to this. They're going to use it, but it'll never happen. They may even pass it, or they will pass it in the House, but it'll never happen. As I have told you, if it gets out of the House, then the Senate has to pick it up. And there are more Republicans technically in the Senate than Democrats. So it should be killed there. But since a third of the Senate will be running in 2020, and I don't know how many of those are Republicans, you better beware. Some Republicans in the interest of keeping their seat might surprise us and come out for it because they know, as I do, it'll never happen. So even if it passes the House, even if it were to pass the Senate, it would go to Trump if Trump is president, and he'll veto it. Now, they're pounding so that they'll say those very words, that if President Trump is in office, he'll veto it. We need a Democrat. That's why the Democrat presidential nominees are talking it up. So even if it passes the House, passes the Senate, and the president does not veto it, it will still never happen because it will go to appropriations, and there it will be killed. Appropriations is the committee that takes the bills, the laws that are passed by Congress, signed by the president, and then they apply the funds. And if funds are not available, then they shelve it. And it becomes what's known as an unfunded liability. So there you go. This is coming. And just as I promised you before anybody had ever even thought of something as nutty as this, I told you about it. Now the thing you have to ask yourself is, how did I know about it? Well, I'm not in a position to tell. Just, you've got proof that I did tell you long ago about reparations. What we're going to be going through now is they are going to be canvassing. The Democratic candidates are in a process, going into the process known as canvassing. Now, what is that? Canvassing is when they start picking out items like reparation, like paying for college, paying for education, where they pick issues and they float them out to the public. And they've got all the different candidates floating all these different issues out there. Kind of like Cortez's Great Green Plan or whatever, where they throw things out and each candidate comes up with different ones. And what they're looking for is which ones get what is known in the industry as legs. And then if they come up with an issue that they determine has legs, then the party will adopt it en masse. That's the future. Now, here's what I've warned about. The Democrats for years have waited for this election in 2020. No, it's not just me warning you about the election in 2020. It's not just another election like all the others we've had. This one has been in planning for years and years and years. What makes this one different than all other elections? Folks, this is the election that the Democrats, shall I say socialists, the people that want to transform our form of government once and for all, it's what they've been waiting for. And it started years ago with the millennials. You see, the millennials are the magic group. They're what everything hinged on 20 some odd years ago. Could they generate an entire group, an entire population of people since the day they walked into the classroom have had 100% social engineering every step of the way, every step of the way. And they are known as the first generation, the first complete generation. The millennials carry that title. They have been brainwashed, trained, however you want to say it, since school, since I walked into one. The books, as you know, the things they've studied, the things they've learned in their classrooms don't really resemble the history most of us had. They're not trained like we were. They're trained, set, ready to go with socialism. Think about that. Think about an entire generation that has now come to voting age, that has now come to voting age in sufficient numbers to effectively affect an election, national election. But it's happened, it's come. the one thing they cannot train throughout all those years with our millennial generation, the one thing they can't make them do, they can't make them have the passion. Oh, they'll be some, certainly. But you can't teach passion. You can't. Passion comes from within. That's our strong suit. They don't have the passion that we do. They may number in the millions. But I'll tell you right now, I would rather go against their millions with a few hundred that have passion and a belief system. A solid, foundational belief system. Than to have an entire million-person army of people that just are along for the ride. So when I say the future is going to be dark, I'll tell you when I say that. You see, they finally got their first generation. It's complete. It is complete. They've also got the media, which they have had for years. But today, the media is out front. Today, the media has come fully out front. They have taken a role of not being what they're supposed to be, a fair, honest observer of the news. Where now they're biased. Now they're biased and they're more of a propaganda instrument than they are news organizations. They've tried for years to get us to separate and to divide up. Well, they're getting there now. They see it, they taste it, they feel it, they think they've got it. We're so fractionalized. The blacks against the whites, the immigrants against Americans. They've got us so busted up that they think they've got it. But we will win. We've got to win. The fly in the ointment to their 50 years or better of planning was a man named Donald Trump. I do not believe it's an accident that Donald Trump is president. I do not believe it's an accident that, in spite of all the warts that he has, that we all have, that the way the media has brought him out, it's no accident that people still voted for him. It's not. But President Trump alone cannot stand up to the millennials. He cannot stand up to a fragmented society. He can't stand up against a Congress that has been all but totally infiltrated. And he can't stand up against the media by himself. That's where we come in. The word is now, which I think is kind of funny, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off, but the Democrat leadership has resolved that they want to make it clear that they're not socialists. They want all of these young progressive Democratic candidates and people running for office and the Cortezes of the world, they want them to stop using the word socialism. They feel that with us, President Trump, all the people that are starting to rise up and speak out about socialism, socialism, that it can be a weight around their neck. So they're going to try to not use that term and not get labeled that way. But folks, make no doubt about it. Everything they are, everything that they do, is socialism. And we're going to have to learn, you and I, to stomach stuff that you're not going to like. We're going to have to learn to understand that they are just flat out lying. Flat out lying. Every word out of their mouth coming up in this next period of time until the election of 2020, almost every word out of their mouth is going to be a flat lie. And unfortunately, it's going to work with some people. We're going to have to rely, you and I, on the truth. But it's not going to be as simple as just saying, here's the truth. This is what they're saying, here's the truth. What I've tried to do with y'all for months now, well, for over a couple of years, actually, for numbers of years I've tried to educate you. I've tried to teach you. You've got to learn how to combat lie with the truth. And just claiming the truth is not enough. They'll distort your claim. They'll back it up by facts and figures that they'll come up with, knowing that you'll not be able or won't even try to double check their facts. Lying is a weapon they use. It is truly a weapon in their arsenal. So what I've tried to teach you are ways when we know the truth to come up with kind of like anecdotal ways to explain it. Ways to justify the truth. I'll give you an example. I've used it on you. When I told you to think about when Venezuela was at that moment in history when they were voting to either keep on being a democracy or to convert to socialism, do you believe that the proponents of socialism, the people for socialism, do you believe that they told the people of Venezuela the truth and how they were going to end up? Did they tell them? Do you think they told them the future would be that they would end up starving? And the obvious answer is no. Surely they didn't, right? Anybody can answer that one. And they have told the Venezuelan people, this is what you'll end up, what we are today. It's what, if they'd have told that's what they were going to end up, nobody, of course, would have voted for it. They used the weapon out of the arsenal that all socialist and communist countries use, which is the art of lying. They painted rosy pictures. So you see, there's an example of how you can show the truth. That's how you show the truth. Another example. When you're talking to somebody and they're talking about when they're doing this canvassing and they're throwing out all these different issues, concepts, to find the ones that people buy into and believe. Think about the money. The money. Now, they say, and will say, that all of these things can be possible. We can have free health care. We can have free college. We can now, one of the issues they're throwing out, Pocahontas is throwing out, is free child care. They're going to be throwing out all these kind of things. say, well, if we make the rich pay their fair share, all of this will be paid for. Now think about that. They talk about the 1%, the 2%, the 1/100th of a percent, whatever, of the ultra rich people. We're going to tax them. And then their money will pay for all of these things for all the rest of us. May I give you an example that you can use to combat that? Now, number one, if you taxed 100% of the rich people in this country, all their money, I assure you it would not pay for everything that's going on now, plus free health care for all, or reparation, and reparation, and free college, and free child care. It won't pay for any of that, for all of it. But here's an example of what you can say when they throw that at you. Cortez, whatever her name is, Cortez, and New York, and Amazon. You see, Amazon had made a deal with New York. Excuse me, a deal that would have created thousands of jobs, good paying, high paying jobs, very well paying jobs for people in New York. They had immediate health care benefits. They had immediate benefits packages that were better than most companies the day you start with them. Thousands of jobs. Now New York had made concessions on taxation and such to get them to come there. And then Cortez throws a fit and fights, proves that they're getting too much of a break. So you know what Amazon did? Pulled out of the deal. Now why is that an example to all of these things they're going to come up with that they're going to pay for with the rich, money from the rich? We've already seen it. You've already seen it. We saw it with napkin gas. You go taxing the ultra rich. And here's what they'll do. Just like Amazon left New York, they will leave America. They'll just simply move. They'll move. Think about it. What if all the wealthy people in America that own companies, many of those companies, by the way, they weren't given. They started in garages and built them up. But think about in America, when all of the wealthy people, who are the people that own the companies that create the jobs, what does America look like when they all leave? I can tell you, we can look like we have under napkin gas. The rich people will leave. They'll pull their industries out of this country. And they'll go to other countries and take the jobs with them. Now what are you going to do, Cortez? Now what are you going to do, Democrat presidential candidates? What are you going to do? Well, don't worry. They're not going to have to worry. The question is, what are we, the American people, going to do at that point? When these millennials, who already are coming out of college, remember, they were told, the millennials were trained, brainwashed, that to get anywhere in America, to get that good paying job, you've got to go all the way through college. College is the final indoctrination period in their cycle of training. College, you got to have it to get a job, to do anything, to come out and get you a good paying job. Think about the number of people you know, that have gone and gotten all those degrees, and they're waiting tables. Waiting tables, selling cars, just any kind of job, just to barely scrape by. So guess what? That college education hadn't paid off, and they're sitting there with huge college loans that they still have to pay. Oh yeah, they're disgruntled. The millennials, by design, are disgruntled. They were sucked into going to college. They were sucked into running up huge college debt just to come out and have nothing. A smart nation, had it not have been controlled at the educational level by the federal government, had it have been kept at the local level, it would have certainly learned fairly quickly to develop job skills, job training programs for students, welding, carpentry, mechanics, all of that kind of stuff. But no, they had to go to college. They had to get that big debt. And when they come out, they can't weld. They can't do carpenter work. They can't be plumbers. They can't be anything. And if they want to go to those professions, guess what? They got to start all over again. Go to some 2-year training. See how it works? The millennials fell right into the trap. Let's don't blame the millennials. Let's blame us. We allowed it to happen. Many of us saw it happening. I know. For 30 years, I know, because for 30 years on the radio, talking to people all over this country, we knew it was happening. But for some reason, we just couldn't stop it. And the reason we couldn't stop it was because we kept trusting in our government. We kept trusting that the people we would send to Washington would take care of us. And they would do the right thing. Folks, there is nothing wrong with the government of the United States of America. There is nothing wrong with the constitutional representative republic form of government. Not one thing. The problem is the people that are there. The problem is the agenda that they have developed. And you say, well, Larry, what on earth would make all these people in Washington want to bring this country down to Venezuela? Don't make sense. Well, it doesn't unless you've been there. I've been there. I know them. I mean, I know every one of them, but I know the philosophy that's there. I know the agenda that is there. I know that when good people go there, after a term or two, they're not good people anymore. Why? Because they have seen during their time there and been bought off by the big lobbyists. They see, they know that America, the way it has been going, cannot continue on. And it can't. And even in a socialist country, there are the elite, the rich, wealthy elite. When you look at Congress, House and Senate, when you look at those people, you're looking at people that believe 100% that we will fall, and they are simply trying to secure their place in that group of elite. But did you hear me? Do you hear me? You're a member of Congress, you're senator, most likely, most probably. Know this country's going to fall. And they know it's coming soon. Most all understand that the election of 2020, the presidency, and the House and the Senate races that will be run, most all of them know that's the delineation marker. That's when this thing comes tumbling down. And that's when we officially declare that we've got to reform our form of government. Reforming our government is the politically correct way to say change our form of government to socialism. Change our form of government to socialism. And transform our government. That sounds less aggressive, sounds better. That's what it means. We lose our freedoms. We lose our rights. And remember, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell these voters coming up in this 2020 election. I assure you, you know this. They're not going to tell them. Look, what we're working towards, if y'all will help us, is we're going to get elected. And then all of us in Congress are going to be this elite group of people that are well off, thank you. And the rest of you are going to be just begging for any crumbs you can get. And they're going to be saying that to people. They're going to use that instrument in their war chest called lying. Lying. Be ready for it. It's coming. It's here. What am I saying? It's coming. It's here. But what you need to watch for now is as they canvass. Remember that word, canvass. Canvass is where all of these presidential candidates throw out ideas, concepts, looking to see which one the people bite into, which one the people believe or can believe in. Go away. Now you got to remember, you're sitting there thinking when you hear them canvass and you hear some of these far-fetched ideas, you need to get it out of your head. Well, that's nuts. Anybody in the right mind could see that that can never be paid for, or you won't have any money to do it, or whatever. Throw all of that rationale out. Throw it out. Because it won't matter. When they're canvassing and they're throwing these issues out, do you know what they're looking for? They're looking for pie-in-the-sky dreams, things that masses of people want so bad that they'll close their eyes to reality. Close their eyes to reality and believe that it'll happen. If we do this, this will come. When if they were in a rational state of mind, a rational frame of mind, they would know it can't. I hope you're hearing me today. We're going to train. I'm going to bore you at times. I know I'm not as exciting as giving you the next conspiracy theory that you can spread all over the internet. I know I'm not doing that. But what I am doing is training you to be ready for the fight of your life. The fight of your life. Now, for all of us that are older, I guess that'd be a nice way to say it, older, and that there's a good chance, just due to our age, that the 2020 election might be the last election we participate in on this earth. Let me say to you, I look back at my life, it's full of failures and disappointments. I wish I had done better than trying to be the man I wanted to be. I know that. I'm sorrowful for that. But I've asked God to forgive me, and He has. And I must endeavor to go on. So let's look at life this way. Life goes in stages. And maybe we hadn't done so good in the first couple of stages, maybe the first couple of 3 stages. But we've still got this last stage, the last days of our lives. And you know what? We can't change what we've done through our life. We can't. But we can change what we will do with what we have left. We can go out winners. We can. We can go out proud of who we are. Even if we hadn't been so proud of who we've been. This is our moment. This is our moment to make up to our country, to our children, to our grandchildren. This is our moment to do it right. So I beg you, join with us. Join with us. Be a part of saving this country from a death we don't want to even think about. But it's here. It's on us. Now with that, Mary Ellen, let's give people a little bit of time to ask questions if they want them. Have we got anybody listening? Mary Ellen, have we got anybody in the
Yeah, we have 44 in the chat, and Josephine asked, is there a chance of helping millennials see the truth?
I would love to tell you, Josephine, that there's a good chance, but I can't. I mean, you have to understand the seriousness of prolonged brainwashing, folks. And I'm talking about prolonged. I mean, from the minute they set foot in the classroom until the minute they graduated college, they have been in an intense indoctrination program. They can be shown the truth, but don't be deceived thinking that you can go to them and make all of them wake up. They're not asleep. They're not. They just have been functionally brainwashed. And it's hard to unwind what's been wound up in them. But it can be done.
Okay, Wes said the only way the Republicans, the only thing they could do to be competitive is the magic two, cannabis and universal health care. Your reaction?
The what?
Cannabis and universal health care. He thinks that's what the Republicans should promote.
Well, I'm going to tell you this about anybody that thinks universal health care is something we ought to do. Now, this is my opinion. So everybody listening has your own opinion. Whatever my opinion is this. I don't want to see the healthcare industry run like the post office. I don't want the healthcare industry to be run like Amtrak. Everything, when you say universal health care, unfortunately, the government ends up being the head of it. And if the government runs everything it touches. And lastly, I'll say, as a veteran, Trump has made great strides in helping the VA. But without Trump, look at the shape the VA was in. And do you really want our health care in that kind of shape? The cannabis part, guys, I don't know about that. That's an individual thing that's out of my pay grade. I don't know about it.
Okay, David asks, who's coordinating this educational brainwashing from kindergarten through postdoctoral studies? Clearly, it's intentional structuring of our system. Is it the NEA? Well, David, the NEA is for the elementary and secondary schools. They don't control the graduate and postgraduate.
The actual head of it would be when we allowed the government, federal government, to be in charge of education. When we centralized education out of Washington, D.C. Now, to put a name, I don't do that. When we put education in the hands of Washington, D.C., we did it. It was done then. Because they dictate what we can teach. They dictate what books can be used. And they dictate all kinds of tricks to further the brainwashing. But it comes out of Washington. Washington, D.C. is like a central thing already. It's already an item within itself. And it's run by a handful of ultra globally rich people. There are many different ways. But Washington was never meant to be the hub of our country. Everything was never meant to start right there and be governed right there and be controlled right there. It was never meant to be that way. But that's the way it is now, until we fix it. And we can. In 2020, we can start. We can make a giant leap forward in 2020. And I might tell you, if we can keep Trump and get him reelected in 2020, his next 4 years will be vital to saving us for many generations to come. Because the progressives, the socialist movement, the socialist takeover will have played everything it's got for 2020. And it'll all be exposed. It'll all be out in the open. And if we can get Trump over the hump in 2020, I think we can eradicate it in the next 4 years to where it will be gone forever, or at least for a long time.
Okay, one more. Will Hillary, we got a couple more. Will Hillary be arrested?
Gosh, will Hillary be arrested? Hillary will be arrested if we finally get control of the FBI, the Justice Department. If we get control of the upper levels of our government, if we can just get back control, not only Hillary can be arrested, a lot can be arrested. And it's going to be very tough, you see, if we start arresting Comey, Rosenstein, and that whole cast of characters. It'll be hard to prosecute them and they not flip on Hillary. So yes, if we can ever see prosecution for them, then I'll see the day we see that is the day I'll tell you, yes, she can be prosecuted because she was instrumental in all of these plots and all of these plans.
Okay, who do we replace and how do we replace the bad apples in government?
Well, the first thing we do is hold on to what we have. Step one, hold on to Trump. I know he's not perfect. I know he's upset some, and everything he does is not going to be good that we think's good for every one of us thinks good. But we've got to hold on to him. Then in 2020, we do the best job we can to replace every damn incumbent in Washington, D.C. that's running. We tried before, and we couldn't get people to run. We tried, we really did, Mary Ellen knows. We tried in 2016 to get waitresses, plumbers, truck drivers to run for office. We tried. Nobody would run. We've got to get them out. If you don't get them out, it's harder for Trump to do what he's got to do. Get them out of there. So if you ask me who, every one of them. Every one of them.
Are you allowed to name your sources at the high levels of government?
No way. No way. Now, I know one of the oldest tricks in the book that's being used today is everybody says I have sources. my source here. I have a source inside the White House. I have a source inside the administration, or a source the mainstream media. See, in my day, used to, when I was fighting Clinton, when I would come up with something that needed to be brought out against the Clintons, reporter after reporter would say, well, okay, but I can't go with this story. My editor will not let me go with this story unless we have 3 independent confirmations of what you're saying. And I had to get them. Every time I had to get them. And even then, most of the time, or much of the time, they wouldn't release it. Today, you see, it's wrong for a reporter to say, I have sources. The editor of his paper or her paper is supposed to verify and check all those sources out. They don't do that now. Because now news is more editorial pages than it is news pages. But I ask you to judge whether I have sources of the things I have told you that will happen, that do happen. And I'd ask that you judge everybody else the same way.
Well, you obviously have sources, Larry, because look, you were talking about reparations early last summer, certainly by July, midsummer. And you told us this was coming. And here we are. And the proof is the fact that you talked about the coup in early July 2016. It had just started. They had just started having meetings and talking about it. And you knew. And you started talking that this was coming. So whether we know your sources or not, the fact that you have reliable sources has been proven out time and time and time again, that you have ways of knowing things.
And let me say this, folks, think about it. If I were to name the people that I talk to daily, weekly, conversations that I have with people, Mary Ellen knows I have conversations with people. If I were to name them, they'd never talk to me again.
And he doesn't tell me who he's talking to.
Y'all can say, well, will not tell. If I told you, it'd be all over the internet in 10 minutes.
Folks, he doesn't even tell me who he's talking to. I know he has a call. He can't take my call because he's on the call. That's all I know. Okay, folks, you can hear his voice. He's getting tired. There was one last question. What can Trump do to counter the reparations issue? And is there more that can be done for the Black community to help counteract the reparations promise?
I am trying to come up with something that I can recommend. But it's not an easy thing to do. You see, that's the problem, like for Trump. For Trump to come up with something to combat reparations, the problem he has is anything he comes up with, let's just say, for example, he comes up with something to lie to him about. That sounds like a better lie than the reparation lie. The media would be all over it and disprove him in a second. Now, they don't disprove reparation for the reality that's the truth, but they would him. So Trump would have to come up. Trump has to come up with something that is real, that's economically feasible and doable.
Well, it seems to me, Larry, something that we all can do is talk to people about the Appropriations Committee and the fact that all of this is a lie, that they know the Appropriations Committee would never pass it or never fund it.
Well, Marianne, that's why I'm telling everybody what I'm telling. This is what I say about anecdotal things you can use. I want y'all to be able to take the things that you probably already knew, but just maybe hadn't put into the thought process. But it's important that y'all, now you should be able, if somebody asks you about it, you should be able to tell them the story of reparation or health care for everybody, or all these freebies that they're trying to come up with. You can tell them now, well, it might pass the House, but it probably won't pass the Senate. But if it does pass the Senate, then it goes to president. The president won't sign it unless it's a Democrat. And then if a Democrat in does sign it, it'll go to appropriations and it'll become a non-funded liability. Y'all can tell that story now. It's true. It's 100% the truth.
And didn't you say one time, Larry, that there's $300 trillion in unfunded commitments already?
I don't know the exact amount of unfunded liabilities, but it's far, 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 far many more trillions of dollars than the national debt that shows up. When you see the debt clock at 20 trillion or whatever it is, that's a joke compared to how many and what we really owe if you funded all of the unfunded liabilities. Now, an unfunded liability, just for a matter of clarification, that is a law, a bill that's been passed into law, but it cannot be implemented because the funding is not allocated. They can't fund it. They can pass anything they want to, but they've only got so much money in the pot that they can actually use.
All right, for us to talk about this, one of the tools that we have provided, we ordered today the first order of 13 t-shirts that says Never Socialism on both the front and in small, it's a smaller logo on the front and then all the way across the back. Never Socialism with a big gold, bright, glittery V for victory. If anybody wants to order one, we will place another order very, very shortly. We need to get a bunch of orders. I'm not sure if we wanted to do 10 at a time. So each time we order, we need to have probably at least 10 or 12 at a time. So if you want to put your order in, we did get a couple extra. This time we have, I think, a couple white ones left over that are not spoken for. I don't know what size. They're $39.95 plus $6 shipping. The reason they're so expensive is because the V is the glitter metallic gold that is way more expensive to add, but it just makes the shirt pop. Makes it pop, the logo pop. And we did quality control. Larry did quality control, and this is the best shirt we can get here in the country. And so the quality, it's not going to wash off, wash away, fade away, shrink away. So you've got a good quality shirt. They're all going to be men's sizes. We're not ordering women's sizes, but let us know. You can text. Let's see. We don't have the actual ordering yet ready on the website. We're going to try and get that up this weekend. But if you want it, you can text me at 240-499-6729. Tell me what size and color, how to contact you. And we are taking payments now through PayPal. There is a way to do it with credit card that we are getting finalized. We're finalizing that setup. We did take one credit card order today. So that is what
I say, folks, one of the reasons that they are $39.95 is because I have to order them on a per order basis, onesies and twosies or 10sies at a time. I cannot inventory them. They're too expensive for me to inventory. So it helps us. We have to order them one at a time. We just have to order them one at a time. But it's best for us to batch them up. So that's what we're trying to do. But I assure you, this logo is designed to be a dynamic logo to make it stick out with class. Now you can go on the YouTube site or the web page, I'm sure, and you can see the logo. You can see it.
And I sent it to the 700 people that I have emails for. So it was sent out a day or two ago. So check your email.
You see what we're putting on the shirts, and you can order them at the bottom under the V. At the point of the V, it says Nichols Army. Now, if you don't want that on there, we can take it off. So you just need to say if you want the Nichols Army. If you don't say, it'll be on there. If you don't want it on, be sure to state that you don't want that on, and it won't be on it if you don't want to be associated with me.
Now, folks, the other thing I'm going to say is you can hear Larry's voice. He's going to need to get some help for the weekend. We're looking at the weekend. So besides being able to take care of some of, ordering extra shirts and so on, keeping the lights on, running, for example, the quote office, and the things that Larry needs to take care of for himself this weekend. He's going to need some financial help. If anybody can do that, his PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. If you need an alternative way to send, you can check out nicholslive.com or contact me at the cell phone 240-499-6729 and text me. I don't pick up the phone, but text, and we can talk about if there's an alternative that you need to do.
And folks, let me tell you again, all of you, many of you have helped, and you have no idea how much I appreciate that, what you've done for me. And I wish it could be another way, but we don't have a big organization. So anything you can do to help us, we need it. But thank you for those that have already. Hopefully, thank you in advance for those that are going to. But remember, never, never socialism. Not in this country. Not now. Not ever. Mary Ellen, thank you, and folks, good day.
And for those of you that are hanging on, I found something that George Washington said that I thought was worth celebrating his birthday today with. He envisioned an America where the people would rule and power would be kept in check with a balanced system of government and by a moral compass, because the founding fathers had a reverence for God and his word. In 1789, Washington said in his first inaugural address, "The propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal truths of order and right which heaven itself ordained." He warned us never to depart from biblical principles. Jesus told us to love our neighbor. Influencing and engaging in politics is one way to show love to others by promoting good laws to help society flourish. If we remove ourselves from politics, the door is open for moral decay and cultural shift away from what God intended our government to be. So Larry provides ideas of ways we can get involved. So we thank you for participating. And if anybody wants to join our conference call at 8 o'clock tonight Central, the number is 712-451-0725. The access code is 492-215#. Thanks, folks.